What is going on, guys? This is All Gaming with my review of Akame Got Killed Episode 2. And this episode, I'll be honest, I freaking loved it. It was amazing. We got some good story progression, and we also got a pretty good fight, in my opinion. That fight there at the end, that right there was freaking awesome. But the episode itself, it starts off with Tatsumi, and we see that Leone, she kept her word, and she brought his friends' dead bodies, and now at their base, they have these little graves for them, and that was definitely nice. But we also learned that Tatsumi is not a full member of the Night Raid yet. Even though they did bring him there, he did not join just yet. And so we see now that Leone, this girl, she is very flirty. You know, that right there is in her personality, and not that it's a bad thing. But Tatsumi, he is definitely, you know, like not taking these chances that he getting for granted, because we first see her, you know, put her chest on his head, and then at one point we saw her with her arm around him, and you know she had him close and everything. But now we go around, you know, with Leone and Tatsumi. And we meet, you know, more of the members of the Night Raid. And so the first one we meet is actually this girl, Shelly, something like that. But you know, it's that purple haired girl that had cut down that other girl's mother in the first episode. And this girl right here, she is very straightforward, because we see now that, you know, that Leone had wanted her to give Tatsumi some like encouragement so that he would join the Night Raid, and she pretty much said that now that he knows their base, if he doesn't join them, he'll be killed. And that right there was hilarious. But we see now that this girl, she's a bit of an airhead, because she was like even read this book called 100 Ways or 1,000 Ways to like cure an airhead. And that right there, you know, it definitely made me laugh. But then we move on to the guy that we saw in the armor, Bulant. I'm still learning how to say their names, because it's like definitely different from the way I thought it was. But this guy here, he has some power behind him. Like, we saw him training, and the way that he was like making those gusts to win, you can tell that he has some serious power behind his movements. And we also learned that he is gay. So this guy is not only epic, but you know that he's gay as well. I mean, not that I'm making a big deal, but you know they put it out there, and it was hilarious. You know, like the way he was acting, and when he said that like Tatsumi would get a wrong idea, it did make me laugh, you know, somewhat. And so the other person that we meet is this girl called Mine, and this girl right here, she was pretty much not really allowing, you know, Tatsumi to like join at all, because we see that she had wanted to like give him her own little personal test, and just by looking at him, she had failed him. And so right off the bat, these two, they definitely don't get along. And then we met this other guy, Lubach, hopefully I'm saying his name right, but I will like definitely learn them, you know, pretty well as the series goes on. But this guy here is a major pervert, because he was actually waiting for Leone to come, because this right here is when she like normally takes a bath. And so of course, you know, she had caught him, and she had threatened to like break two of his fingers and then his arms. So that right there, you know, it was hilarious. And the final, you know, member that we meet is a character that we should all definitely be familiar with, especially after the first episode, is Akame. And we see now that she was there, and she was like eating this like giant bird that she had took out alone. So that right there was awesome. And so she had shared her food, you know, she had shared this meat with Leone, but when Tatsumi, you know, didn't join them yet, she could not share it with him, and that right there was hilarious. But we also learned that their boss is back, because we see that she's actually there with Akame. And we see now that Leone, like apparently doing that last job, she had took too long when it came to like killing her enemies, because she had really enjoyed herself. And so she had tried to like run for it, but obviously we see that their leader, one of her arms, they are mechanical, and apparently, you know, she can like use that to kind of shoot it out like a rocket fist, because we saw her fire it, and she had took hold of Leone, and she had dragged her back. And that right there was funny. Like, this series, it can be dark, but you also get some like pretty good comedy as well. And the comedy, it's like, it's normally like it's always on point, because it does make me laugh. So that right there was like definitely awesome. And so now we see that all the members are like gathering together and they want Tatsumi to join them. And at first he was struggling with it, but they pretty much learned, like what they do. And we also learned that this guy, Bulant, the guy in the armor, he was once a very, powerful soldier, but after he had learned about the darkness of the capital, that is when he had joined, the night raid. And Akame was like that as well, but I will get to that in a bit though. And so afterwards, like Tatsumi, he had thought that these guys were like assassins of justice, but that right there is a joke, because it's like Leone said, no matter how many times that he'll try to spin this, they do commit murder, and there's no justice in that. So now like the main thing that he wanted to do, it was to make a name for himself and earn money so that he can save his village. But now after knowing about the darkness that is now in the capital, there's no way that he can do that and save his village, especially when they're like the one behind it. But by doing this and like taking out the treasure, as he said, then they can make this country a much better place, because the person that they need to kill is the prime minister, because we all know that the ruler, he's just being a child, just being used, and it's the prime minister that they have to worry about. And so with his death, this country will change a lot. So that right there is the like primary target, but of course they're like working, to get to that point. And so pretty much Tatsumi does give in, because he will get paid for this. So that right there will like definitely be nice, because he could send that money or whatever payment that he gets, he could send that to a village, and that right there is like one way he could help him out. So even though he's not doing a job that he wants to, he is still doing a pretty good job. So after he joins it, he'll probably think that he'll start off doing something like killing or whatever, and we see that he is the one that is normally doing the cooking here, because we saw that like in a flashback, him, Sayo, and the other friend, they had all learned to cook, because they had wanted to like use this skill, so that way they would like never run out of food once they join the army. And so now he like using these skills that he learned to pretty much cook for everybody, and it seems that they all like his cooking, because they all want a second as well. And it was hilarious, how annoyed he was getting at that. But apparently Akame, she's in charge of food, and you can tell that this girl loves to eat, because we saw her like taking snacks of all the food she had there, and that was hilarious. And so pretty much all the other members were like going out on a job, and Tatsumi and Akame, they were left there to cook. And so pretty much, because she's like training him, because that right there is a job that her boss gave them, because Akame right now, she pretty much a leader, so Tatsumi has to obey what she says. And their target here, it was like some rare fish that they were going to hunt and bring back for dinner. And so at first we see Akame, she's not dressing out of nowhere, and Tatsumi, like he starts freaking out, but he sees that she's like in a bathing suit, so it's all right. And so pretty much after he learned to fish, we do know that the fish, they do tend to get pretty violent. But we saw that Akame, she just dives right in, and she could handle this with ease. And that right there, it was like pretty freaking impressive. And so like afterwards, we have Tatsumi. He like took off his clothes, and he thought that he could do as good as her, because she had told him to conceal his presence, and then when the fish gets close to him, that is when he should attack. And we see now that after all that, after that big thing he was talking, saying that he was gonna catch a lot, he only caught 2, and that right there was pretty freaking hilarious. But now we actually learned that they have this job to do, and we see now that Leone, she had went out there and she met with this woman, and this woman here, she had most of her body covered up, so obviously something was like wrong with her. But she had one of these 2 men dead, because they had framed her husband and got him killed. And so afterwards we learned that one guy was named like Gamil. He was like an oil merchant, but this other guy named was Orge, and he was like a pretty important soldier. And so Leone, she was saying from this woman that she had sensed pain, but I definitely know in the manga. Leone said that she had smelled something, like diseases, and so this woman clearly she has sold her body, to get all this money to pay them. But thanks to their boss, they did accept this job, and now we have Tatsumi kind of talking this big game, and it pretty much led him to taking on Ogre by himself. And so right now he was like being really arrogant and cocky, and when he tried to talk to Akame, she pretty much like shot him down because she was acting pretty serious. But now that the job was getting started, we see that Leone and Tatsumi, they had went to Main Street because we learned that Ogre he pretty much is like really alone except for when he's drinking, because normally he has his lackeys around him, and whenever he goes to collect bribe money he has Gamil with him, so he's like really alone except for when he's drinking. So that right there was the perfect time to strike. And so we see that that Gamil, he like in some kind of place. I'm not really sure because they didn't establish it. But we see that Leone, she like puts him in a chokehold while Akame, she like stabs him with her sword, and that right there was like pretty much the end for him. But we have Ogre who was drunk, and Tatsumi, who had came up to him and started talking to him, but not in public though. So he like pretty much left him and like led him to this alley, and pretty much Tatsumi, he had put on this act, saying that he had wanted to join the Imperial Army, but Ogre had turned him down, and not recruiting him and tell him to just go through like the normal procedures. But that right there is where Tatsumi, started to draw his sword, and Ogre did the same. And with their first exchange of blows, we see that Tatsumi, he is very fast, and he was able to inflict this like major wound onto Ogre, and it was like right there on his torso, and you just see Ogre go down, and you would think that right there would be it. But we see Ogre now. He actually gets back up, and now we have him and Tatsumi, going back and forth to eventually they're on like this on this standstill. So pretty much now Ogre was like trying to figure out who in the world hired him, and based on like recent events, he was able to figure out that it was the woman of the man that he just framed and killed. So now he was like plotting to kill that woman and her entire family right in front of her eyes, but not before dealing with Tatsumi. But of course Tatsumi was not going to have that, so he pretty much got like super serious, and we just see him like cut off Ogre's arms, and then like he had cut Ogre, like and then he like came down and cut Ogre up, and that right there, it was like freaking awesome. So obviously Tatsumi, he definitely has some skill, and he could like back up that talk of his. And so now we see that when they're reporting, he's like once again acting very arrogant and cocky. And at first, Akame, really wasn't paying him no mind. But after he had brought up it, like not getting injured, she had the boss and Leone to like pretty much hold Tatsumi down, and and like strip him of his clothing while she had like checked his body. And so we learned that they were like a member or somebody formerly in Night Raid. They had lied about their wounds, and they were actually poisoned, so they died. So Akame was like making sure that Tatsumi was not doing the same thing. And so when she saw that he was not hurt, we saw her like real personality come out, and she was just so cute and sweet. And I also forgot about Akame's past, where we learned that she had a sister, and the capital bought her and her sister and a bunch of other children, and they like trained them to be assassins. And so pretty much like after Akame had grew up, she became like this top assassin that can pretty much do any job that the capital will order her to do. But one of her targets was the boss, and we see now that after those two had met, something had went wrong there, because Akame had joined her. So clearly after seeing all that darkness, Akame knew that this right here was definitely not her place. But it was funny though, because the next person that the Tatsumi will be training with, it is actually mine, and we all know those two won't get along. So I am definitely looking forward to that. But like I said, to me, this episode, it was good. I'll probably give it, an 8.5 out of 10. No, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. But of course, I would love to hear you guys thoughts on this as well. But as always, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe, because it really helps me out. And you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.